Hey guys, Lucas here from T.REX Arms. I'm joined here by Mike of Garand fame. Today we're going to be talking about helmets, kind of how we've set ours up, and why we do it, and we'll be answering some questions that some of you all have asked us in the past. So, Mike, why don't you begin with your helmet and kind of go into that?
Yeah, sure. So let's talk about this. So when it comes to tactical types helmets, there are two types out there. We have ballistic and we have bump to some extent or another. Now within bump, we have carbon, and then you just kind of have your plastic type material with padding. Now in this case, my helmet is set up as a ballistic helmet. This is a Safariland Delta X helmet. I think you've had a little bit of experience with these, just a little bit. So it's pretty standard as far as the cut is concerned. It's just a high cut helmet. It'd be most equivalent to a Ops Corps Maritime or something along those lines. I think they're called the XP now,
something
if I'm
like
not
that,
mistaken. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how I've set this up specifically. So first off, starting up here from the very front, for night work, I have some night vision up here, have them mounted to the Wilcox mount, the 24s, which I think are probably the best mount that is currently on the market. Would you tend to agree with that?
Yep.
Definitely. As far as retention is concerned, I know people are going to yell at me when it comes to this retention because I just have the bungees on them, and you should always have a better lanyard system than just the bungees, because I have seen the bungees fail in some extent or another, and then the MVGs get lost. So some people choose to use some type of that, like that Wilcox retention lanyard where you can attach it to the top. Some people use 550 cord gutted and tie that off to their helmet in some way. If you're doing any type of serious work, I would definitely recommend that. Going back from that, we can talk a little bit about the Ear Pro. So this particular Ear Pro that I'm using right here are the Safariland Liberator 5s. These are prototypes. They're coming to market likely by the time this video releases. They are very expensive, but for those users who need the type of sound quality and reproduction that they offer, I think that they are a very excellent choice. They're pretty analogous to Contact 3s. Again, you just get better sound reproduction, but at a higher cost. These ones, of course, come with a boom because they are made to wire into PRIC 152s or something along that, or whatever you're using nowadays. I don't think anybody uses emitters anymore. Moving back from there, you can see that I have my cables routed in certain ways. Now there are multiple ways to route cables, and we're gonna kind of get into that a little bit here, because Lucas has his cables routed much differently due to the way he has his helmet set up. But for mine, I have my cables routed on the inside of my helmet. Now on the back here, where I have my radio plug-in, I have those attached to the TNVC Mohawk, and that's one of the main reasons that I use it, because it allows for wire management to some extent or another on the very bottom.
Yeah, I like that. I have that set up right there. Usually people put like chem lights back there, but I think that's a much better use of what's back there.
Absolutely. Going up from there, we have a counterweight pouch. So depending on the type of night vision system that you're running, you might need to have a little bit of weight on the back to ensure that it's not slumping forward into your head and causing like a pressure spot. Incredibly painful, especially after hours of doing night vision work. Lucas, I know you just went through a pretty serious night vision course. Did you have anybody during that course who was not running the correct counterweights and they had some problems?
Yeah, there were a bunch of law enforcement guys there who borrowed some night visions. They didn't have their own setups, hadn't set up their own things, and they didn't have counterweights. So the whole thing is pulling in front the whole time. They don't have an optimal night vision view through the tube. So there was definitely some of that for sure.
And that's a terrible day to have to deal with that. Now, what's cool about the TNVC Mohawk is it comes all the way up, and it gives you a lot of Velcro real estate space to work with depending on your kind of needs of whatever job that you're doing. Now, on my particular helmet, I have the MS2000 IR Strobe. There are much better ones out there nowadays, but this is what I have. This is what I use. It still works, but Lucas will show you a much better version. On the side right here, I have just an IR flag patch just for basic identification and that type of stuff. If we move to the inside of my helmet, I'm using Ops Corps pads, and I'm using the BOA closure system. There are multiple closure systems out there that tighten around your head and keep it in place. I prefer the BOA closure system from Team Wendy. I find it to be quite exceptional. There are others out there. Again, just find one that works for your head shape, because again, everybody's gonna have a different head shape. Me and Lucas, kind of skinny dudes, kind of longer faces, skinnier heads. So this is gonna work for us, but for others, it might not be ideal. So again, find what's going to work for you, because not everybody is going to be the same. So basically, that is kind of my helmet right here. We have Velcro on different sides for different uses for whatever you might need them for, whether that be IR patches or whatever. But everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Not a whole lot more to say on this. Everybody's setup is going to be different. The only thing that I'm really missing on the helmet that I would like to add and that I don't have on it currently is some type of light, and Lucas does have that on his, so we can talk about that. But yeah, this is my helmet setup. Everybody's is going to be different depending on their job. find what works for you.
Yep. So I'm running a MTech Carbon Flux. This is not a ballistic helmet. This is a bump, and I have other helmets for ballistic capability if I go somewhere where, like a shoot house, where I need to have that protection. But if I want to go for speed and I want to go for maximum comfort, I use a bump helmet like this one. So the way I have mine set up is I have sword-ins hooked up. I have comms on there. I don't use them very often, but just the particular set of sword-ins I purchased had that, so I can clip into comms if I need to for whatever reason. Like Mike was just talking about with Illumination, I have a Princeton Tech. I don't know the exact model number for these, but it puts out a little bit of lumens, which can be handy when you're at the range, you're loading mags, doing whatever, admin purposes. It's not too much light to give you away or blind people. So it's just kind of nice. It runs on a little watch battery, one of those standard like RMR batteries, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure what the battery life is on those. So I have my sword hooked up to Unity Tactical Marks. And these, unlike a lot of the ear pro systems on the market that attach directly to the helmet, these do not lock out. These are constantly pushing into the head. And the reason they did that, they had issues with the original model of breachers having them blow off of their ears from the concussion of the blast from the different chargers they were using. So due to that, they decided, you know what, we're just going to keep these tight. And if guys don't want to wear them, they'll simply just move them outside the helmet. But the other thing I like about this is it's much tighter than the original model, so it just keeps the helmet a little more stable to your head, which is important for me. We'll get into yours in a second, because I don't have a BOA closure. I have to fit this helmet to my head using the pad system. But get into your Liberator 5s and how they work.
Sure, so that's definitely a problem for a lot of people. I've definitely had my contacts pop off when I'm doing a jump or something like that, and it's pretty annoying. So one thing that you can do on the 3M type mounts that mount directly to the contacts, or in this case the Safarilands, is if you unscrew the very top here, you can put a piece of paracord underneath the locking mechanism. What that will do is it will keep it pressed in and it will never be able to lock out, much like the Unity Tactical. Now, I do like the Unity Tacticals, that they're built that way. That's just the way they were designed. I haven't noticed any fatigue issues from running the paracord underneath the locking mechanism. It seems to work pretty well for me. But again, that is an option for those of you who just don't have access to the Unity Tactical for whatever reason.
Yep. It can sometimes be hard to purchase products from them because they're in such high demand, but I definitely recommend any product that Unity Tactical makes. Absolutely. And I have a lot of products from them. Moving on to the mount, I use a Wilcox G24. It's probably the most common mount being issued right now. In the special operations community, it's a very good mount. They're about $450. You definitely pay for what you get when it comes down to night vision mounting accessories. We're not getting a whole lot into night vision. Obviously, helmets is very important. Going into how I route my cables, I like running a helmet cover and running all my cables underneath. It makes it very useful. So I've got my PVS31 cable running to my battery pack, just running underneath, and it's exposed right here to hook right into my nods. On the back, I have my battery pack, and it's something that's very important that I've found just in doing what I do, which is not obviously very serious, is the Velcro on a battery pack is usually not enough to hold it up over use. So I just run duct tape over the back to make sure this thing doesn't fly off, because these aren't cheap, the cables aren't cheap, and you don't want to be losing your kit, especially if your nods require battery, from that, piece of equipment. So I just duct tape over it. There's little systems out there you can use, shock cord. I've seen guys do a number of different things, but duct tape has definitely worked well for me. Now, some people are going to say, well, why on earth would a civilian like Lucas need a helmet or even need night vision? Well, the really cool thing about living in the United States of America is
do whatever the hell you want.
I can buy whatever I want, provided it's legal, and I can use it. And so I use this for my work. I use this for my job. And you know what? Night vision is also pretty fun, as both of us know.
Pretty awesome.
So that's one reason I own a helmet, and that's one reason I encourage people to get into night vision. It gives you, it's a good force multiplier. It's also a lot of fun. And the most fun I have with night vision is taking the dogs for a walk, looking at the stars, maybe driving around on dirt roads and things like that. It's not just about shooting. So that's why I own night vision and helmets. What?
That's a good day, take her out to look at the stars.
You got to have multiple sets of nods there.
Exactly. But, that's a good reason to have them.
But hey, it's America. You can buy as many as you want. Perfectly legal. So go buy night vision. So I think that kind of sums up kind of what we do with our helmets. Mike's got a ballistic. I've got a bump. Oh yeah, Illumination strobes.
Talk about the strobe really quick.
Yeah, so this is the Core Survival Hellstar. And what I like about this strobe is it's very easy to switch from visible, and I actually cover mine up with tape because otherwise it's really bright. So I just kind of cover up some of those diodes with electrical tape. I can then switch to strobing function, and then there's a button up front to just switch from visible all the way to IR. So right now this is emitting a IR signature, which obviously other people can see with nods. We can't see with the naked eye. And then you have the regular, the old school
MS-2000.
MS-2000.
Yeah, that's superior. It's better.
It is. It's got visible, but yours, definitely works.
It's still visible for the MS-2000. It's just it's not as unidirectional,
Right.
sorry, omnidirectional as the MS-2000 is. So if you have the money and the, if you're able to get these, get them.
Yeah, I think these are only about 100, only about, but like 140, 130 bucks.
It's
something
not
like
much.
that.
It's not much.
And you
at
can
all.
change out the batteries easily, so I definitely like this. I've also played with the Manta, but I think this is a superior system, a little bit easier to use, a little more intuitive. So, but I think that's that.
Yeah, I think that's good. So, guys, just find a helmet that works for you. Find what's gonna work for whatever you're doing out there, and remember, helmets make you look cool, but only if you do the correct amount of training.
That's right.
Otherwise, you don't look cool.
That's right. And the only reason I own a helmet really is for wearing night vision. There's not a lot of reasons to have a helmet unless you run nods or you need a ballistic helmet for protection. So that's something to think about. Just because you see other civilians running around with helmets doesn't necessarily mean you need one, but it is America. You can buy one if you want. But the main reason I run a helmet is for night vision, a little more stable platform than running like a skull cap or a skull crusher or something like that. So that's the main reason I use a helmet is for night vision, and that's why I usually use a bump. I don't have to use a ballistic. So, but I hope that was helpful to you guys. If you have any other suggestions or videos you'd like to see me and Mike do together, answer some questions, different things like that, we'll be doing more in the future in 2018. So just leave a comment below of what you would like us to do, and definitely go follow Mike at Garand Thumb, and also subscribe to the T.REX Arms channel, and we'll have more videos coming out shortly. So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, guys. I'm stabbing you. I'm Sam Fisher.
What the?
Splinter Cell.
Oh,
Wow.
I don't know that name. All right, let's watch some of that.